Yo, still bills. What's the deal, man? We off to the races. It's Friday Eve, and this weekend we got a big fight coming up in Jerron Boots versus Amante Stannionus. So that's what we gonna talk about for the time being. So peep game, let's get into it, man. Yo, this is a good fight, and this is the type of fight that we've been asking Boots to be in, man. I, you know, I'm not going. I've come down off the Boots high or whatever. I was high. I wasn't super high on him, but you dig. I definitely was like, yo, Boots, early, some time ago or whatever, because just he was showing promise, man. But people never really got, people. That's one thing about a lot of these dudes, man. Who, in particular, fighters who come into prominence on the PBC side of the street, they never come down off of the high that they own because they're such big supporters of that company. So whatever product they put out, that's the product they just gonna live and die by, man. And they'll ignore all of the red flags in the fighter, man. So Boots has shown a lot of red flags as he stepped up in opposition, and it isn't even stepping up, man. I know for a fact people was really high on him. They was really trying to with Yukatsian, you know what I'm saying? And that Yukatsian fight, people had all the excuses in the world to just simply not, so they wouldn't have to say that there's holes in this dude's game. You know what I'm saying? And then in the rematch, they wanted to run with this narrative that, oh man, he was ranked number so and so in the division and yada yada. And I'm like, all right, yo, whatever, man. So we just not even gonna speak to. We're not even gonna speak to rank manipulation and all of that shit. Y'all just gonna roll with the punches. All right, cool. Well, who did he beat for him? And how often did he fight? Did he, he ain't fought, but I think he fought twice between the two fights with Jerron Ennis. And then it's like, who did he fight to ascend through the rankings in that capacity? But whatever the fuck ever. Nonetheless, I do think Karen Chukatsian has a certain skill set that, that's to be commended, man. I can be real about that, but it should, he shouldn't have been able to make Boots look like that. So people have really been beating this drum that Boots is just this dude, this unfuckable force that'll knock everybody out. Even at 154 pounds, he'll just knock everybody out. At least the fighters who have moved up from 147. And I'm like, yo, this shit is getting really ridiculous, man. So, but nonetheless, Boots is a talented fighter, man. Boots is a talented fighter. And so let's speak to that, man. Let's get into it, man. So, Stannionus hasn't really been the most active fighter. I think he took 2 years off after this. He was on the Spence versus Ugas undercard, man. That was 3 years ago. Because I remember he fought Butayev, and I was like, yo, I got Butayev winning. Butayev showed more versatility as a fighter with the switch hitting. You dig his ability, the distances that he can fight from. Stannionus is a dude who likes to bang out in the pocket. So I'm like, all right, cool. You dig? I think you dig. Butayev is a dude who can take halves, who's going to work behind his jab. Work behind his jab, work behind his straights, occasionally step into the fray and get busy and then get back out. That's not how he fought. He fought in the phone booth the entirety of the fight, which made for a good fight. But I was just like, bro, how'd you let this dude draw you into a firefight like this when you didn't have to fight like that? He barely switched hit, and I think switch hitting has gotten to a point where it's becoming a lot more cliche than it was once upon a time, because now everybody want to switch hit, everybody want to go southpaw, everybody want to go right. Yeah, I'm like, all right, man, this shit is just getting a little bit ridiculous. It's no nuance in it. It's no prestige to it anymore, man. Motherfuckers just, man, I'm gonna switch it now, just for this case of just for the sake of switch hitting. And that shit just, it becomes a lot more easier to read. But nonetheless, it is a skill set that he has at his in his repertoire. So and he didn't use that, man, and he ended up losing to Stannionus. He ended up getting out fought and out muscled and out hustled in the pocket. And I'm like, why are you fighting like this? So I think, if we're being real, I think that victory right there is the better victory between the two. If we being real, I honestly believe that that is the better victory between the two of them. I can't say Roman Villa because I thought Speedy Rashidi did enough to beat Roman. I honestly did. But nonetheless, Roman has the victory on his hands. He has the victory in his record, or whatever the case may be, man. So I think I do think Butayev is he's a more complex fighter than Roman. So, but nonetheless, let's match these two up, man. Boots has shown that I think Boots is best at around about mid range, man. I think he's best at mid range because when I think he can be out. I think he can be out fought in the pocket, and I think when you're fighting him at distance, if you have competent feet, you can keep him off balance, man. And you know, that's a problem with me when you're talking about someone that's the next coming to Roy Jones Jr. But in this particular fight, he's not going to have that issue. And I think in this fight, he'll be able to fight at a distance to where he'll be out of he'll be out of the line of fire because the minute he goes, Stannionus doesn't have the feet of a Chukatian. I don't think Chukatian will beat Stannionus nonetheless, but I do think he has the better feet than I think Chukatian has the better feet than Stannionus. And the difference in that fight is, Stannionus doesn't have the feet of a Chukatian. So I think Boots, I don't think he's going to stand there and bang out as much as he did because he's not going to, he doesn't have to. Stannionus isn't going to be a dude he's not. I don't think Stannionus is going to be able to cut the ring off from Boots in the capacity that. Well, shit, I haven't really seen anybody cut the ring off from Boots. Boots is always the one that's been on the hunt. He's always been the one that's been on the hunt, man. So and shit, if we being real, like Boots does like to bang out, so he could stand in the fray and go, balls to the wall. But I think that would be to his detriment. He could win a fight like that, man. But it's like Stannionus is, Boots can be out fought in the clinch, man. When I'm looking at Karen Chukati and initiate exchanges with this dude in the pocket, and he's getting outlanded in the pocket. That shit matters. So now when you're in front of a champion and a dude who's been in there with more, who's been in, with more formidable opposition than a fucking Karen Chukati, and as far outside of Boots, I have is a better opponent than Chukati, but he's been in there with better foes, and he was able to out hustle and out muscle him in the pocket. That matters. You dig what I'm saying? That matters. That matters. You dig? I don't think either one of them are super defensively competent like that, man. But I think both of them are durable enough to where they can stand in the pocket and bang out, man. Stannionus is a dude. He's pretty durable. He's pretty durable, man. And I think that he can. If Boots decides that he wants to play on his feet, he can capitalize on that. He can definitely capitalize on that. He can outfight him in the clinch. He can outfight him in the clinch, bro. He can. He honestly can. So I think Boots is gonna pick his. I think he's gonna pick when his moments when he wants to step in behind his jab, plant his feet, and completely commit to the hooks and the uppercuts in the pocket. I think he's gonna pick his moments where he does that. I think that right there is gonna cause confusion in Amante Stannionus. Or he could capitalize on it and make those moments because I don't think those moments are gonna happen often. I don't think those moments are going to happen often. So when they do happen, he's going to be ready to. He's going to be fully ready. He's going to be fully ready to capitalize on those moments as they happen. So I see the fight. I see the fight going like that, man. I see Amante Stannionus getting out boxed from the outside. I see Boots really, getting on his bike, popping the jab, two down the pike. You know what I'm saying? I see him doing that shit, and then occasionally fighting that mid range, and then eventually stepping deep into the pocket to add some sort of pizzazz to the fight. And in those moments, that's when you're gonna see Stannionus have a lot of success. You dig? This ain't like David Avanesian, where like David Avanesian isn't Stannionus. I wouldn't pick David Avanesian over Stannionus neither. I wouldn't. David Avanesian was able to have a great deal of success, in front of Boots. He was, not a great deal. Let me stop saying that. I ain't gonna put no extras on it, but he was having success in the pocket with Boots because Boots isn't the most defensively competent fighter. He's not the most defensively competent fighter, man. One of my biggest things with Boots was how wide he opens up on hooks and uppercuts, trying to showboat and all that, and you can still get past his guard. Get past his guard, when he goes to enter the exchanges or advance with, what I'm saying, behind the jab, he's, his chin is in the air to get clipped, man. He, there's defensive lapses in this game. It honestly is. There's defensive lapses in this game. But I don't think, and Avanesian is one dude who kind of let that shit be known. But I don't. I think he didn't see. I don't think he perceived David Avanesian as a big of a threat as an Amontes Stannionus. So I don't think he's gonna stand there. He's not gonna give Amontes Stannionus the same luxury that he gave David Avanesian. That's what I'm getting at. He's not gonna give him that same luxury by standing in front of him. At least not the entirety of the fight. And I think it would behoove him if he did stand there and bang out with Amontes Stannionus. I think it would behoove him. Not saying that he can't win in that range, but why even risk it? Why even risk it? Why get dropped? You dig? Your stock is already, at least with a lot of people, it's kind of like, man, I don't know if we may have put the extras on you a little bit too early. So why even give that dude the luxury of potentially making, adding adding fuel to that fire of, man, I don't know if you are what we thought you were. So I do have Boots winning the fight. I got Boots winning the fight, but I think it's just in them moments where where he decides to stand in the phone booth, standing on this is gonna have a great deal of success, and it's gonna cause him to retreat to the to his back foot that's how he should fight anyway, or at least at mid range. You dig? Put yourself at a distance to where you're in, you're close enough to him to hit him, but you're out of range of the counter of being countered. You dig what I'm saying? That's the distance that he needs to fight at. That's the distance he needs to fight at, man. Don't step into the fray with this dude. Don't step into the fray with this dude, man. Just get on your bike or at least stay at mid range, because Brian Norman is the fight that we really need. That's the fight that we really need. So I'm going with Boots in this fight. I don't know if it's gonna be by knockout. I don't know if Montes has been dropped before. I don't know, but I'm gonna go with Boots in this fight, man. I just think he has more of a repertoire than Amontes. Amontes is a pressure fighter. Amontes is a dude who like to bang in the pocket. I don't know if he's gonna be able to trap Boots on the ropes and pin him to the ropes, or even you dig, I'll jab him, close in behind the jab at mid ring. I don't know if he has that in his repertoire in front of somebody of the caliber of Boots. So I'm gonna go with Boots in this fight, man. I'm going with Boots, but I think it is gonna be a good fight. I think it's gonna be not a barn burner, but I do think I think it's gonna be competitive. But I think Boots should win it 8-4, some shit like that, man. Yeah, that's where I'm going with this fight, man. So may the best man win. This is the type of fight that we've been asking Boots to be in. Another champion. Even though he's been trying, he's been trying. He tried to get Barrios and he tried to get Ryan. And I had to come to the conclusion on that, like, yeah, my nigga, you dug Boots, but it's all good. We'll come, we definitely gonna double back to that fight. But yeah, man, I gotta go with Boots. This is the type of fights that we asking him to be in. He's giving it to us, so we gotta salute him for giving it to us. And maybe we go, we after that, we got 2 more belts. You dig? Does he make it to go undisputed, or does he outgrow the division? I'm not so sure, man. I'm not so sure, because I don't think Barrios is interested in fighting this dude. I don't think Barrios is interested in fighting this dude, man. So I don't know. I'm not so sure. But nonetheless, he's fighting, a legitimate, credible opposition. A legitimate, credible foe. That's what we asking for. So Boots for the win. I'm gonna say 8-4, and that's how I'm feeling about it, man. Y'all let me know what y'all think, and I'm out of y'all. I'll get with y'all later. Happy Friday Eve, deuces.